All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Monday Night Football Showdown show here on the Mayo Media Network. Same crew as always. Got Hoopster, Title here with me. Bring them in a minute. Before I get into it, want to remind everyone very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by RunTheSims.com. If you want to check out Run the Sims, find your leverage, go over to RunTheSims.com, use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off. We will have the Sims segment at the end where we break it all down. You guys can give us your scores, show you a little bit about how that works, but we'll get right into it. Hoopster, another huge week for the nation. I counted over $300,000 worth of community wins. Our guy Cole Murray, even his dad out there getting the job done, winning six figures in the showdown streets last night. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
Yeah, doing well. It was nice to see. I mean, for me personally, a lot of close calls. I mean, I had some really nice teams in the FanDuel 555 going into the afternoon. Needed Tony Pollard, who, man, a lot of people just said I'm not playing him. Like, he was way lower on than I thought on FanDuel at what, 6,600. Like, I figured he'd be like very popular. People have said like I've seen enough. I'm like off of him, and that was obviously the right move. I needed a little push from him. Didn't get it. Returned, I don't know, I'd say like it wasn't like a washout for me. I returned probably 70% of what I played for, and I will take that. I had some teams that were live all over the place and just fell a little bit short. It's the nature of the game. But then you go to our Discord, and man, the killer screenshots just kept coming in. I'm like, damn, love to see that, because we always talk about it. Again, over the course of the season, whatever DFS sport you're playing, you're going to see guys like us win. Like, we've been doing it for a while. We're going to have our wins, but it's always it's been a priority for us since day one to see our members win. So I didn't get the job done yesterday, but I was very happy to see our members get the job done in a big way. And our guy D-Dry again, live to win the Millie. I mean, there it is, $140,000. Opened it up late in the afternoon games, and he's sitting in first place in the Millie. Now, didn't fully get the job done. Still wins $140,000. I don't think I've ever seen a heater like this, honestly. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this from a guy that wasn't a known name in the industry. Now he is. Now he certainly is. But just kind of coming out of nowhere, winning the $200,000, and it was $100,000, then 115, and then the Millie, then 25, then 60, 140 yesterday live to win the Millie. And I just keep saying it, man, like, yes, it's important to do your research. Yes, it's important to get on the right plays. Yes, it's important to have proper roster construction. But an overlooked aspect, and I'm really starting to buy into this, is the community aspect. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people, good chemistry, like everything is just flowing nicely in our Discord. And again, just people winning life-changing money week after week. And it's just not going to stop, because like we have a community of people that have the same goals, and just really nice, kind people to be around. We're, giving money away on the shows. And during the show yesterday, the guy says, hey, I already won 100. Like, give it to someone else that can play for a little bit more. So we run it back and give it away to somebody else. And it's just a good overall feeling, and really proud of, what's going on for our team over here.
Yeah, it's been a huge momentum booster this last month. It was really D-Dry that got on that first run. He had that little run you mentioned. And from there, it's been nonstop. Our guy, Mark F., he won $150K a few weeks ago as well. He's trying to keep up with D-Dry here. Got 8th in the mega yesterday for $32,500. This guy says, Tambo, thank you, man. KJ10 won $13K. Shady wins $30K. Like I said, the Discord was just loaded with it. Romeo, by the way, giving away another monthly membership. So somebody random on this show today is going to win a monthly membership. The person, Andrew, who won the free roll the other night, is giving away $100 cash. So two people today are going to win. One, a membership for a month. The other is going to win $100 cash. Shout out to Romeo, won $14K, $11K profit. We call it whatever, but the profit's there. Kevin, a really good dude. He said he almost won this, but he really just used some of the stuff we talked about on the show. You see the Noah Brown call that we had in there. Sean says life-changing money, ROI, like 20, I think he was actually in for like $45. It got cut off, wins $1,643. So just massive profit there. A bunch of other $1,500, $600, $13 or $3,300, $3,000, just a whole bunch there. And then really cool thing, everyone knows I've been playing King of the Beach for a while. This is something that I'm big on. I was happy to get one seat through yesterday. I'll talk more on the giveaway in a second because it includes Mayo Media Network subscribers. So smash that like, subscribe to the channel would be your starting point. And then SHIPIT Nation members really going to get hooked up as well. But just in general, Chad, wouldn't be going to Miami if it wasn't for SHIPIT Nation. Huge thanks to everyone here. I'll have to figure out something to do for you all. Don't have to do anything for us. Been a lifelong dream of mine, and you all got me there. He's going to Miami. Rob, he's on our testimonials on our website, Lay the House RM. He's been on an epic heater of his own right. Doesn't include a Millie Maker win or the six-figure wins, but to each their own in the category you're playing within. He's won a lot of money across all sports. He'll be at the beach. Deepwater is Mr. Panther. He'll be at the beach. Some other guys, B. Miller, Brandon Miller, I was just talking to him. He'll be there. Dwayne, NYG fan, he squeaked his in. My guy Todd, who won the Fantasy Golf World Championship, he got in. He'll be there, and others as well. There's other people, but a lot of people that are in our Discord and part of our membership are going to be there. I squeaked in, and then shout out to our guy Ham, got the job done, joins Hoopster, and our guy K-Craps. You guys will all have to get on the ship together. Speaking of ship, this thing's on a cruise ship, so I don't know if you're going to go away for a month or wherever they're trying to take you guys on this trip, but I don't know if that one's coming back, so maybe just play it from home. But shout out to Ham. Really big weekend all around. If you guys want to be a member, you can join now. Go to shipitnation.com. Use promo code Mayo. Get in on the action. Title, kept you waiting long enough, man. How's it going today? What's going on with you?
The opposite of what's going on with all you guys. My pocket's definitely a lot lighter, but hey, that's what happens. That's the game we play. Love to see a lot of members get through King of the Beach. Glad to see yourself. I was happy to see you didn't swap off that Deshaun team. So you stuck with your gut. If you went the Lamar route, I don't know what the team would have looked like, but probably would not nearly as good as that squad. But yeah, excited to see some people through. Definitely a rough day over here. That's the game we play. Free money Sunday. It's kind of a bid. It's always fun. Not free there, but hey, hopefully free money Monday comes to fruition. We got the Jets. We got the Chargers. Interesting game. I think there's plenty of ways you can go in this one as well. But shout out to Ham. Shout out to all the people that got through. Again, congrats to you, Tambo. You deserve it. Hopefully you get that first place because it would help you a lot. It'd also help, I don't know if you're doing one person, whatever. If you're picking multiple, I don't know how you're doing it, but you can explain that. But you are giving away 10% equity.
Yeah, we're going to get to it in a second. We're going to do our normal grand scheme overview. We'll break down the captains, go through ownership, roster construction. I think that was the big takeaway from yesterday. I know I tweeted out the one segment where I literally talked about that 2v2 that was in the lineup. Shout out the title. No, he said it was a rough day. He's had some very nice Sundays along
the way.
But
that's the difference, though. I mean, just to point on that, because it is an important aspect of what we do. There's people in the chat like, oh, I didn't get my win. I'm still trying to get my win. It's like, you got to take him on the chin. Like, there's like no need for excuses. Like, Title could come on here and say, oh man, I missed a 2v2 or a 1v1 and it cost me everything. If it was on the other side, I would have won. It's like, no, like you man up, you take the losses and you move on. I lost money yesterday. Like, I'm not going to come on here and say, well, if I would have done this, like in hindsight, I look back at my teams and we talked about it on the show. I love CJ Stroud. When I talked about that game, I said, I love all these pass catchers with him. It's a good spot in a dome. And I look back and I didn't play as much of him as I should have. So, like, take it in stride. Like, if I feel good about a guy, I'm going to make sure I get more exposure. But I'm not going to come on here and make excuses about missing on 2v2s and 1v1s and all that shit. Like, you take the loss, you move on, and you find a way to win next time. That's what we're about.
Just got to wait your turn, too. Nuan said it best here. Your time will come. No one can promise you your time actually will come. And we never sit here and say that either. And that's part of it. But we do have to make it be known because a lot of what we're doing with these shows is about process and breaking it all down.
Yeah, and one other thing I just want to add on to
Go ahead.
I don't get tilted. We're about the I got to get my words in while I can because I know
it's because you didn't get any.
They're going away quickly. But it's like, man, I don't want to go on a rant about people in the industry, but you start listening to stuff and like it's excuse after excuse. Like, oh man, I'm running so bad with my 1v1 and 2v2 decisions. Like, fuck that. Like, just get out there and make better teams and find a way to win money. Like, no one gives a shit what your 1v1 was or your 2v2 and whether or not it was the reason why you won or lost. Like, that doesn't affect anyone else. No one cares. People in this industry, it's like, man, that's all you hear. And it's tilts me. And I've done a good job of ignoring a lot of that stuff out there, and I'm going to after I get through with this rant, but that shit pisses me off.
Yeah, the sign, man, it's there for a reason. And it's not just that. It's even when you win. Nobody cares, really. You'll get your likes or your people see the screenshot, and then guess what? It's on to the next one. You got to come back and prove it again the next week, and you got to take your licks, like Coop said. You lose some weeks, you come back the next. But I used the gym example yesterday, and it fits again. If you eat healthy for a week, you probably don't lose that much weight. Lose a little water weight, whatever. Then you go back to eating bad. It ain't going to work out. You got to stay in the gym. You got to stay eating properly if you want to actually get in shape. So do that with DFS as well. Let's get into this, Hoop. You like talking. Let's go today. I want to hear you more. Tell me about this game.
Yeah, as Andrew says, throat is better today. I just feeling a little better. There's a little bit of
gonna be bad. You keep talking as much as you are here.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting some of those words, those lost words back from yesterday. Tambo got some extra words in there, which I expected to be the case. But now that I can fully get this voice rolling, I'm getting some of the words back today.
We're good. We got our 10-minute Manscaped out of the way. People making fun of the ads yesterday. We're done with it. Let's go. Let's move on. Grand scheme overview, Hoop. We got the Chargers. We got the Jets. It's an exciting one, and I do have to give our guy Mayo some love. There's a special show tonight right here on this network. This is going to be fun. I'm excited for this because Feinberg, who most of you know, is a huge Chargers fan. Cust is a huge Jets fan, and they're going to be doing a watch party together. So it's going to be awesome. It's fun. I've got to be around Cust, tilting and watching his stuff. Never around Feinberg for that, but tonight should be a lot of fun. So check that out tonight on this channel. Go ahead, Hoop. Talk about this game. Let's get into it.
I mean, there's a lot of tilt revolving around these two teams. So it's got to be tough. If you're Chargers and definitely the Jets. So it should be entertaining. But I like Chargers showdown slates because more times than not, it's either Eckler, Herbert, or Keenan Allen that you need up top. And I could definitely see that being the case tonight where, man, these three, the volume is massive, obviously. And now they're getting a boost, especially Eckler and Keenan Allen without Joshua Palmer in there. Yes, they're going to mix in some of these other guys that we'll get to. But, I mean, it's a consolidated offense in a spot where the other side doesn't have many appealing fantasy options. I think you can make a case for maybe a couple guys over there, but it's not a strong case. There's no doubt about it. And if you're doing a lot of that stuff, it's probably just to be contrarian. So I like Chargers slates. I mean, I feel very good about the chances of one of those Chargers guys just going off. And that is how I'll be building a majority of my teams tonight. The total is pretty low. I think it's 39, but it's kind of the nature of, the NFL nowadays. We're just seeing a lot of these lower totals sitting at 40.5. So it came up a little bit. We're seeing a lot of these lower totals. But yeah, for me, it will likely be a Chargers heavy approach in captain. And then maybe, one or two Jets guys we got to see when we kind of talk through it here.
Yeah, one thing for sure, I've been following it because I update my slate plan early in the morning with just some of the basics, like the fill-in stuff. And it was at 39, then 39.5, then 40 now. So it just keeps going up. And I think last I looked, it went up to 41 on my book. So the total did keep going up. Title, do you have any thoughts on that? And then anything else you want to talk about, just your way you're seeing the slate grand scheme overview from your eyes?
Yeah, not much about the total, but it surprised me about the spread, 3.5 only. I get it. The Chargers just don't really put their foot down. They are in close games, but man, with Zach Wilson led team, Breece Hall has been an absolute beast, but I was expecting 5, something a little bit like that. But I like to see that for sure. Looking at general roster construction right here, I think 3 threes probably with how the salary is. I even think 4-2 Jets isn't going to be the craziest thing. So 5-1s, as we always talk about, are going to be very low owned, and I think they are viable on this slate. But I don't think 3 threes or 4 twos you see something that's going to be way over the field or way over what the field's doing to get on a different route that way. We have a lot of cheap pass catchers for, I guess, both teams, but mainly the Chargers, and that's how I'm going to be approaching the slate. Josh Palmer is out, and obviously Mike Williams is out as well, so they're going to be mixing and matching a lot of these guys. They still didn't add Guyton in the pool, though, which is unfortunate. So he's going to be, assuming he does, we have to monitor actives today because Jalen Guyton, he got hurt last year. He's been on the squad for a long time. Probably, I think he'll be active this week. If not, then we also have huge bumps to guys like Darius Davis. We saw Semi I can't even pronounce that last name right now.
Fehoko,
right? The Cowboys guy. Yeah, he used to play on the Cowboys, but he got in the box last week as well. If Guyton's out, those guys would get huge bumps, but I'll be mixing and matching a lot of those guys. I don't know what 190 means though.
No, that's not a 1. That's that's a line on the paper. That's words at the bottom. There's my 90, guys. DD's in the house. Double D. The bit is back. I win. He says, "What's
Don't
good,
mind
boys?
the other stuff. I had 78.
78. What do you got?"
I won
Title?
last week. I didn't guess.
Title won last week, though.
This was my guess from the other day, though. I would have rolled something similar, but we didn't.
Yeah,
DD's in it early. Usually DD kind of comes in a little bit later, probably on break at work. So
Mm-hmm.
he says he's at the grocery. He's grocery shopping right now, and when he
During
gets back
break.
to the factory, he'll get back to the lineups.
Yeah, so he's on a good pace today. He's gonna have some free time before lock.
Shout out to Double D. Someone says, "Yeah, double defense tonight. Let's go." It might be a sign. Double D, get in on the action.
Please don't. Come on, we can't. I mean, too early to start talking that nonsense.
That might be the only way to get different on the Chargers side. I think people really gonna like the Chargers. I think Title, you just said something key. 1, the 4-2s for sure that way. But when you talk 3-3s, this is something I don't think is talked about enough as well. Is people just classify them as if they're all the same. There's gonna be 3-3s that lead with the Chargers more likely than 3-3s that lead with the Jets. So that's still different, again, where you're leveraging, again, within a build style. And just, again, people don't go, what do you always say, Title? There's levels to this shit. That's the point. People just classify it as a segment and go, oh, I'm going to build these 3-3s and this, that, and the other. There's different 3-3s. So I think that's key. The 5-1s can always be in play. I'm definitely building tonight some builds for the Jets to win here solid. Like, I just, again, I don't think it's that crazy. And I know it's Zach Wilson, which makes it suck, but I think we've seen this before. I won one of my King of the Beach seats off Zach Wilson versus the Chiefs. Again, not the game, the fantasy game I'm trying to win. I don't care who wins the game. Zach Wilson with 3 pass catchers, and then it was just Mahomes and Pacheco on the other side, and Zach Wilson was in the captain. So it's just to point out, they can still show up fantasy-wise. When you got guys like Hall and Wilson, the only thing really dragging those guys down is Zach Wilson. If they were on other teams, these could be absolute studs. They're already top players at their positions, or can be for their prices too. You got to factor that in a little bit as well. But I think there's some good builds there. I'll definitely be in on that side a little bit more. Hoop, talk to us about your captains. You mentioned the Chargers ones. You said maybe a couple. Jets get up there. You think it's going to be a tighter captain pool for you tonight?
Yeah, most likely. I typically run something tighter, in the captain the most. Like that's kind of how I differentiate my lineups, is by running tighter captain. A lot of people I feel just spread it out, which is fine. If you have success doing it, you do it. I've just had more success really nailing it down to just a small number. So really for me tonight, it could be, I'd say anywhere from 3 to 5 captains, I think, maybe 6, and that will be, posted on the website. We'll have it all up there. But I mean, it's definitely the Chargers key guys. I mean, I've seen these sort of slates play out so many times, and these Charger slates I've done very well on because it's just a ton of volume. In the last Charger slate, it was Austin Eckler. He went off. I think we were all over him in the cat. A lot of people were. He was highly owned. I'm not saying that's, we are the only ones saying play Eckler in captain, but you needed him up there. He kind of went off, and could be Keenan Allen tonight. It could be Eckler, or it could be Herbert, just kind of spreading it out. So those 3 will be probably the highest owned captains. But I'll be finding a way to get over the field on those guys. On the Jet side, people look at Breece Hall. I think he's fine, but man, it's it's a big boy price tag to play him up there. He's 10-4 normal price, and the captain, it's 15 whatever. So it's a big boy price tag. And the same thing is with Garrett Wilson. I think he'd be the next guy that a lot of people look to in that captain spot. But it's man, he's got to beat at that price tag. The way I'm viewing this, he's got to beat one of Keenan Allen, Herbert, and Eckler. Do I feel confident he can do it? No, I don't think so. So it could be as low as 3 for me up in that captain. I think, Quentin Johnson builds might be somewhat interesting. So I'm going to look into him a little bit more. I mean, he's the one that obviously is going to get the biggest boost here. He's only 3.6K. You put him in the captain. There's a lot of different things you can do. I mean, you're going to be able to get 4 studs with him. So I think those could be interesting, but like I said, it'll be a tight number for me in terms of the overall number of captains that I'll be playing tonight. 3 to 5. I'd say the most I'm playing tonight is maybe 6.
Yeah, title, big question with this one is how you're going to handle Austin Eckler. Looks like, again, just like last time, like Hoop said, it wasn't a secret, but he was obviously a great play. But now that mixed with the fact you go look up, I didn't have any Monday Night Football tidbits out this week, but the one I would have had, Graham Barfield on Twitter, he posted basically like, look at the spot, man. The guy already crushes it in this spot. And now you pull Josh Palmer out of the mix on top of it. Like he's going to get there. Like he's going to have an opportunity to get there. We don't know what's actually going to happen, but he definitely looks like the ownership is there for a reason. So how are you going to handle that? It's pushing right now somewhere around 20 to 25% in the captain is what I'm seeing out there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's just enough other weapons that I feel that could get there that I probably won't have much at the captain spot. I like the pass catchers more at the highest price and the highest ownership on the slates. I think there's just other ways that I can get different that'll eliminate a lot of chops and stuff like that. So as the Jet side, it's only Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I do like both of them a lot, though. Breece Hall, I mean, Dalvin Cook's pretty much irrelevant now. Chargers defense, I'm not worried about. Garrett Wilson is the only guy out there that Zach Wilson looks at. You could easily see 10, 15 targets today. That's what I'm expecting. And then Breece Hall, it's so concentrated. It's like what we talk about a lot with Las Vegas. It's Jacobs, it's Devontae, it's Jacoby Myers. Outside of that, you really don't have to worry about anyone. Give me in a 3.5 point spread, close game. Like you said, you're going to be building like Jets win some. I'm going to be as well because, like I said, if I think it's 5, sometimes these lines that I feel like I'm like, scratch my head a second, look at, it's there for a reason. So I'm actually on the Jets side in this one. I like Breece and Garrett Wilson a lot at the captain spot. Will be 2 of my highest. Then on the Jets side, Keenan, Quinton Johnson, and then Gerald Everett is the other one I'll throw in there as well. I like all of them more than Eckler, or probably I'll be more overweight on all of them to Eckler, and I'll just be mixing and matching them. Without Palmer, without Mike Williams, Quinton Johnson's easily the number 2. He had a lot of hype coming out of college. They haven't used them much this year. Now they really just have no choice but to use them. Everett's going to be on the field bunch at tight end, and Keenan number 1 receiver. So give me the pass catchers on the Chargers side. You get a little leverage off the chalkiest Eckler. Again, I don't think Eckler's a bad play by any means, but highest price, highest owned. I think I find other guys that I like that I could easily see be in the captain spot. I mean, is it another tight end night? Like, is it Sample? Is it Kincaid? Is it Irv Smith? Are we going to finally get I'll take a Gerald Everett captain spot today.
Yeah, the talk was already about Parham. We'll get Hoop the Whisperer there after on that. But I will say, just looking at it here, like that's part of it. There's only so many options that you can use up there. And this is the Chargers game, right? So we already know how this one ends. The total's creeping up to the over. People start getting on the over. This game ends 20-17 for the Jets because the Chargers always lose on a late field goal, and that's the way it works. They might
Chargers
get a chance
will miss the field goal. They're going to miss the field goal.
Or that. They need it to tie the game and it misses. Or it goes, the Jets get it. They get a chance to come back and put to the over, and it doesn't hit it. Just you already know these games go. That's how the Chargers games always go. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But I think I'm on the same line as you on the Eckler side of things. I can get some Eckler lineups that I find ones that I think would be less duplicated or make sense or leave money or built different a little bit, something like that. But then if I don't go that way, then I'll move to builds that are against him. I'm actually going to play some Herbert in the captain tonight. I will mention this just because I think with Guyton, we'll see what happens with him. It's not, again, I don't think DraftKings is putting him in the pool at this point. It's too late. People build. Our guy DD is 93 builds in. It's just not fair to go plug this guy into the pool. He has to figure out a new strategy with these last lineups. So there's that. But him playing would affect other stuff that we are going to be keeping an eye on and watching, and we'll be covering in the Discord. If it's not broken, someone said it earlier, and it was broken for me too. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. It's just a Discord thing. But then also, like, these cheap guys are either in or out of play, and then how much use do they actually get? And then what's the deal, Hoop, on the Jets side? Like, we've got Garrett Wilson. Lazard is going to play. That was announced like an hour and a half ago. And then what are we talking? Randall Cobb down here? Like, he was back at practice on Thursday. Like, where else are people going on this Jet side? Obviously, Conklin always gets a little bit of love almost as a receiver in his own right, like a wide receiver, even though he's a tight end. But just saying there's a couple other options, but is there anyone else there that you're going with or could consider at captain? And what are you doing with the tight ends up top, as people were mentioning?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't mind like the Everett call. I mean, the issue I have is the same issue I've had basically all season. Like Parham gets red zone targets like a lot. And I know Everett, I believe, found the end zone last game, but it's like man, when there's another guy he's going to be in there if they're in the red zone. They love throwing him in the red zone, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a huge body. That just makes it tough for me to get to a guy like Everett up top. These other pass catchers, I think, are just better flex options for sure. Like, Randall Cobb, Lazard, like you talked about. Even Conklin on the other side. I'm going to be running it very tight up top in the captain spot. So, I mean, all these plays are going to be, definitely more flex plays for me. And again,
what's the cheapest you think he'll go at captain?
Yeah, I'm looking at Quentin Johnston. Honestly, I think he's the guy I like. I mean, honestly, at this point, he's probably my fourth favorite captain. I prefer him above those Jets guys. And again, the issue I see, and I might end up playing him. Like, I haven't built any teams yet. This is just preliminary talk with my boys before we go in and start to really, nail down the plays and put the content up. Like with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, like in my eyes, they have to outscore one of Eckler, Herbert, and Allen, and I just don't know if I see it on the slate. Could it happen? Absolutely, but I might just be taking the chance that they can't outscore those guys and going really thin at the captain position. The reason I like Johnson is because it gets you on a totally different sort of roster construction. And I will say, similar situation to playing the defenses up top. We talk about it. People think, all right, I'm going to go a cheap captain and I'm automatically going to be different, but that's just simply not the case. I mean, the numbers are there. When people play cheap captain, there's a lot of duplications because you just end up on the same stuff. If you play Quentin Johnson in captain, you have like 9,000 left per spot. Everyone's going to jam in Herbert, Breece Hall, Austin Eckler, then you have the same stuff. So the way to go about playing cheap captains is to play the cheap captain and then be willing to leave a lot of salary on the table. Then you're talking about being different. But if you go in there, just let the optimizer run it, you're going to end up with the same sort of teams because it's going to put in all those guys that are projected very high. So again, if you go like with a guy like Johnston, be willing to leave some salary on the table.
Shaping up for a good slate for our guy Hoopster. The way everything's being broken down here, I can already tell because everything he says is right, but I want to play against all of it. And that usually goes Hoop's way. It's just the way it works. Not anything special because it's right. It's just, and you can find ways to get different with it. It depends how you're looking to build and go after it. I think, again, at the end of the day, Eckler, it looks like a great player for a good reason. So I understand how people are going to get there. I'll have some Eckler, but underweight the field for sure. If he's coming in at 20 to 25%, just no way. I am going to hope that a guy like Breece Hall can get the 100-yard bonus with some checkdowns and some catches and a touchdown. I'm going to hope that our guy earlier might have been out of his mind, but was saying that, where was it here? Jeffrey, 3 TDs for Wilson tonight. I don't know if either Wilson will get to 3 TDs, and one of them is the quarterback, but just to say it, I still have interest in testing the waters on those spots. If not, I just feel it's going to be chopped up. Like Quentin Johnston, Hoop just said it. It's great play. It works. You can do it and leave money, not who you play. It's how you play them. Again, if the cheaper captain get there's just usually not going to be me because, well, it makes perfect sense. You end up with 3 of the 4 top dogs in those lineups, and then you can still build that way and find like a 1%er, find a defense against the quarterback, whatever it might be, something just to slowly separate yourself a little bit more. But for the most part, those nights are more challenging for me because I'm playing to try and ship as much as possible.
Yeah, and if
chip, period, and that's it, and you still get there with good scores.
Yeah, and if you are just running 150 through an optimizer, it is very challenging. If you're doing all your teams together, I know, Tambo, you do a good job. You'll build in sets and whatnot, but most people like myself, I'm not doing that. So if I go in and just run my 150 and throw Quentin Johnson in there as one of the captains, it's just going to put those teams in there. So you almost have to build those teams differently to try to get a little bit different. Do a set, say, all right, if you're doing 150, say you want 20 Quentin Johnson teams, well, do the 20 Quentin Johnson teams separately and just bring that max salary like way down, and then you kind of get different. That's just one way to do it to make sure you're getting a little bit different.
Yeah, and this is an interesting question too. Back to Jeffrey doubling down here. He's got the magic script tonight with the Garrett Wilson 3 TDs, but do you like Kelly at all? Usually I don't like something like this. I'll definitely have Kelly in the flex. Haven't decided because he's a cheap captain up top. But here's an interesting note is if everyone's going to Quentin Johnston as the cheap captain up top and everyone's going to Eckler up top, who's the man in the middle, even though he's the lowest price, is actually the guy that's just being left out. That's not the cheap version and not the running back that everybody's using. So again, very particular build type. but definitely wouldn't hate just taking a risk or a shot on something that usually in a higher dollar, smaller field. I think that's better. We saw Brandon Adams won the Millie that night with who was it, that cheap captain, Gallup. Even though he dropped 2 touchdowns, he still got there with a unique, but that's a field size of like 750 people versus in the large field, that was going to be more challenging and you would have chopped it a lot more ways.
You guys have referenced this Austin Eckler captain ownership. What are you seeing it to be? Like what do you think? You think it'll be over 20. So what do you think a guy like Breece Hall comes in at then?
Right now, it's somewhere 10 to 15, 10 to 12.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at like a 5 to 6% difference.
No, I'm looking at double.
Well, if you're going 5-6%, you still got 117,000 in the pool. You're talking.
Yeah, no, it's no. I get that. You're talking a big number, but
I'm saying 12 versus 22. That's massive. It's like it's a 7. That's almost 20,000 lineups.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference. I guess is what I'm kind of getting at. I don't think it. I just don't think it always gets. We talk about quarterback on the main slates. Always gets spread out. Like everyone plays every captain. It's kind of turning into the same thing. You go to the slate when it locks and you look at it. Like the guys that you think are going to be so popular in the captain, most slates they're not as highly owned as you think.
Yeah, slate dynamics too. We have lots of cheap options tonight. That's the other reason I'm saying you can afford him much easier.
Yeah,
so
certainly,
it would change if we didn't have the $200 guys and the cheap Quentin Johnsons and the cheap Conklins and Parhams and all that. You're right. It is turning. I love that analogy. Actually, turning into the quarterbacks of the main slates into the captains of the showdown slates. This slate, though, the reason I have it so high is there's so many ways to make it work.
Cheap plays, yeah.
And because of the cheap plays in the flex, that's the only reason why I think. But I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like I said, that's why I'm cheering for you because I think it's setting up better for you. It's just there is better ways to get to him, and he makes so much sense. And like I said, without Palmer, it just gets even better for a guy like. I will
say though, I mean, it kind of goes, to the point I always make though. It's like I think a lot of people want to play a lot of captains when they go in there and build their teams. They want to say, well, man, if Alan Lazard scores 2 touchdowns, I didn't play him in the captain, I'm done. So I think a lot of people end up spreading it out way more in the captain than they should potentially. But it's like if you are going to play some of these guys that we project to be higher owned, you got to make big moves on them. Like that's why, like to play a guy like if we think Eckler's the highest owned, which it's looking like he probably will be. Like you got to make a big move on Eckler. You can't play him 20-25% in the captain. You got to be willing to sacrifice a lot, not sacrifice a lot of lineups. You got to be willing to devote a lot of lineups to those Eckler teams and do different things. Again, leave the salary on the table, do weird things within the captain where people won't. Like, so, play Herbert, Allen, and then, 3 cheap dudes or something. I mean, just try to get it a little bit different, but don't go in there, run it, and say, I just want 20% Austin Eckler. I think that's a dumb decision to make on a slate with that sort of ownership. I guess is what I'm trying to get. I don't know if I
hear exactly what you're saying. I think people understand it too, and that's kind of the key. If he ends up coming in, again, I don't look at this stuff because I don't care. But if he's 18 and not 22, it's not a huge sway to me. I'm going to be less than 10%, so I don't care. Like I'm under no matter what. I'm the opposite of what Hoop said. For me, that's how I'm playing. But that's how I always play. Like that's just the angle. Back to our original standpoint at the top of the show, we take our licks until we get it. When I get mine, it's going to be something decent. Like title when you got yours, it was 81K just a couple weeks ago or whatever it was. So this past Sunday wasn't your best Sunday, wasn't a free money Sunday, but it was a paid for Sunday by the previous 81K hit and the other stuff along the way just before that. So I mean, that's kind of how we're looking at it. There's not a right or wrong essentially in that perspective. It's just you have to be able to know what you're doing. That's what we talk a lot about over at SHIPIT Nation in the Discord all the time in the education course about your goals, your mindset, and then learning. And then what you find out in that Discord is there's a lot of other people that think like you or want to play, and then they start to catch on. You know what? I'm more like Hoop. I like what Hoop says. Someone said earlier, Hoop's straightforward. They like I want to do like Hoop's doing, but I'm going to put my own process to it. But they're going to take his thoughts and his ideas. Other people hit me up all the time and say, I'm following title for cash, no matter what. And it's been very good for them.
That's a smart thing. That's a smart thing to do. It's
very smart thing. And then others say, Tambo, I can't believe you're at King of the Beach again, or whatever it might be. I'm going to follow your slate plans, and I'm going to follow what you do because I know you're going against the grain. Our guy Hamwich, prime example, won that live final seat yesterday, but I used his FanDuel slate plan last week when I won the 100K. He goes off the board. I had plays under 5%, no problem, because he's not looking to play what those plays are. Everybody plays their own way. That's the key about being a member at SHIPIT Nation, getting in there with all the similar minds, everyone working on their own stuff. You start to pick up what works for you. And that's why it's not about what Hoop wins, Title wins, I wins, anybody on our team, not how much we win, how much we help you win. And that's where you're seeing when Hoop wins, a bunch of other members. When I'm winning, the list is long still too. Title the same, all the rest. It's because people are learning to make something of their own. And then look at D-Dry, look at Lay the House, look at the other guys we mentioned, our guy Mark F. It's repeatable. You start to do it more and more, and you start to get your own way and find out what works best for you. So keep at it. If you guys want to join, you can go to shipitnation.com, use promo code Mayo. Let's move on, Hoop. Let's go to your take on Joshua Kelly, your take on any of the backups there, anything else with the running back position you want to mention.
No, I'm not messing with Joshua Kelly. I'm still like, man, after what was it, like 3 or 4 weeks without Eckler, and he was just like the slam dunk play, and he just sucked week after week after week. I'm going to be staying away from him. What is the price on him? Actually, I
2,600.
Okay, well, maybe I changed my mind a little bit. Then at 2,600, I didn't know it was that low. At 2,600, all right, I do have a little bit of interest because it's one of those situations. Let's say, they dump it off to Eckler and he goes 40 yards and gets stopped at like the 2-yard line. He needs a breather. I could definitely see, Joshua Kelly coming in and finishing it off. And at that price tag, that's kind of, maybe all you need. So, yeah, I will play it because of the $2,600 price tag. Definitely not like a captain play. I'm not going to be there at all. Like, I don't want to do that. I've seen people talking about Delvin Cook at 1,400. Like, nah, I'm going to pass on that. I mean, they've openly said they don't really want to give this guy work. That means I don't want him in my lineups. There are a lot of cheap wide receivers that we talked about. We'll go through. But in terms of the running back position, Eckler, Breece Hall, Joshua Kelly, and then, Michael Carter at $200. I mean, there's slates where these $200 plays you just end up needing, and they just have to do something. So there's a lot of them on this slate. With what I'm doing at captain, I'm going to have to embrace the risk of some of these $200 plays, and Michael Carter is the guy that I'll have in there. So Kelly at 26, I'm fine with. I didn't realize he was that cheap, but with what they're doing, based on what they're doing with the kickers, price tags up a little bit. I guess they didn't really do it as much on this slate, 4,644, but it's higher than we saw last season. It's a $2,000 difference between Joshua Kelly and Dicker. That's a big difference, $2,000 in salary. So yeah, I'm fine with Kelly, Carter in the flex, but yeah, definitely not like captain plays.
Yeah, and these two, like, I'll come to you on this title. You need a spiller play. Like, Sample got there last night. I hope that sample of Drew trickles over into the evening here, because those types of things, that's not very common. Like, even Sample had to like slip a couple tackles and get lucky to get up over. It happens. You need that luck in showdown and anything. I'm just saying, I don't try and do that. Like, you're already different when you get to Kelly. So it's not like everybody's moving to Kelly. He might be 10, 12% owned. That's a low enough owned play, and it makes sense. And he'd be the guy you would expect to get in first. Also, if Spiller gets in the box, with how these guys rack up PPR points and the potential for the other stuff needed, and kickers can rack them up too and things like that, it's actually not as high of a guarantee tonight as what some may think. And I actually know the way I'm going to be building a little bit, because so many $200 values, I'll have some lineups like that, like Hoop said, building in sets. But I think the balance builds could be unique tonight as well, where you just don't go to that, because we'll wait on the news, but it could get even more guys popping up. But right now there's already 2 to 3 options people can talk themselves into. So kind of like Hoop said earlier with the captains, you could see that tonight with the $200 plays. I got to get a little bit of this guy. Oh, but what about that guy? And then I don't even know if people end up putting them into lineups that make sense. So that's the other angle of it that sort of gets a little bit skewed. But Title, talk to us about these running backs. Anything else you got to add there?
Well, part of the captain part too is like why I like some of these cheap captains is I think because we do have a lot of salary, people are going to jam the top guys. But also, I wouldn't be would you be completely shocked at the end of the day if Quinton Johnson was the leading scorer in this game, or a Gerald Everett, all that? I can see a 17-10 game, gross, one person falls in the box, and just at their price, even if they score 4 less than Herbert, whatever it may be. So because I can see the games going like that, it's why I'll be overweight on some cheap captains. As far as these running backs, I have interest in Josh Kelly primarily because I'll be underweight on Austin Eckler. So when Austin Eckler fails, I mean, there's a good chance that Joshua Kelly can get there. That's not the only route, of course, but just direct leverage from the chalkiest guy on the slate that I'll be overweight on. Don't really like him, Kelly, that is at captain, though. We'll have some in the flex. No thank you for Spiller. On the other side, Yeah, of course, I like Brees a lot. No thank you to Dalvin. And then Michael Carter all the way down at $200. He's pretty much a running back, too, ahead of Dalvin as well. So get some third down work, some 2-minute drill, stuff like that. $200, some crazy things can happen. So, yeah, no Dalvin, no Spiller. Some interest, I guess, in Kelly, just naturally game theory-wise more. Not like I really like the play, though. I prefer Michael Carter to Kelly at the price for sure.
Yeah, I like that. And it's a good follow-up question. So it still is a good question. It's like if you go, yeah, if you were getting Spiller, it would be blowout builds either way. Either Chargers pound them and eventually Spiller gets in, or you're saying the Jets pound them and it ends up being that. So that's up to you. Same as this question. Is Justin Herbert a lock since Guyton isn't in the player pool? No. But if your play is that Guyton goes off, then yes, for you, Herbert would probably be a lock because Herbert's going to throw touchdowns to him or whatever it might be. So again, build it for how you seeing it play out and what you want to see happen. And that would make sense for how you're looking at it and asking that question. And then I do want to address one thing, Hoop, and then I'll go to you on wide receivers. But where was it here? He said, man, a lot of comments today. We appreciate that. There's all kinds of good ones. But either way, I'll let you take over to wide receiver. I'll find it in a second. Talk to us more on these wide receiver options. If this, then that. I know we're waiting on a little bit, but not really. Like we got the Lazard news. Guyton, we should see. We'll see. But still tough to say. But go ahead. Talk to us about these wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen, we already talked about. Quinton Johnson, we all kind of like. He's going to be the premier cheap play on the slate. Should come with, I mean, he's going to be very highly owned, but I mean, he's essentially their wide receiver too. Well, I guess, maybe 3. You got Eckler, who probably gets more targets than him. So at 3,600, though, he's going to be very popular. We talked about Garrett Wilson. I prefer more in the flex opposed to the captain spot. Lazard, I think, is a fine option, but like Lazard's $5,200. Like at 52, it's like, man, he's got to outscore the kickers. He's got to outscore the mid-range plays. I don't love the price tag on Lazard at 8-1. And then you have some cheap guys. On the Chargers side, Darius Davis, $200. He's going to get mixed in. He's going to get some work. And then Fehoko at 600. We saw they used him in the red zone last week, and that's key. You want your guys, especially the cheap guys out there in high leverage situations. Got the 1 touchdown, and I believe he might have got like another target too. I don't know for sure, but I think I saw him out there on another red zone play. So 600, fine working him. Yeah, right. You got another target. Yeah. So like he was out there. Now there's no Palmer, so I think he's definitely got to consider. Especially we talked about a lot, but on Herbert captain teams, you're going to want exposure to these guys because if Herbert throws a touchdown, you want the guy on the receiving end of it. So Fehoko, Davis, great plays. They're fine regardless. And then, Randall Cobb, I don't know, someone was in there like, why is Cobb $200? Well, Cobb's $200 because he's averaging like 1 fantasy point a game this year. That's why he's at $200. I'm not saying he's a terrible play. I'll probably have him in my player pool for sure, but it's a justifiable price tag. It's not like Cobb should be like a $5,000 wide receiver. I mean, he's done jack shit all season long. So he deserves to be at 2. I'll play him at 2, but it's not a shocking price tag at all. So yeah, I mean, it's, even despite the injuries, I think it's a very obvious, the plays at wide receiver are pretty obvious here today.
Yeah. It's year 2024 is just around the corner, folks. So Randall Cobb, that ended a long, long time ago. And if you didn't know, sorry to say this for the Jets fans here, but Aaron Rodgers is no longer the quarterback for the Jets either. Right now, he's injured. So you have to wait and see if you want to get some Randall Cobb love. Maybe tonight, and at $200, see him making some lineups for sure because it's $200. But to Hoop's point, the price, very justifiable. I want to go to you on this one, Title. It's the day after, less than 24 hours now, I guess just over 24 hours from the Demario Douglas being in all the lineups. What about some Darius Davis? Double D, our guy Double D. We found it. We found the Double D play of the day. It's not DSTs. It's Darius Davis, $200. Talk to me from the ground up here. $200 guys all the way up to the top.
Well, I actually want to ask you, Davis, what do you think his ownership will be? Because I think it'll be mid-teens. And if that's the case, and any bum down here in mid-teens, I feel like that's got to be – I feel like I'd just rather take a shot on Cobb, take a shot on Fehoko, take a shot on any other guy that's going to be less owned because I think Davis will be the guy that does get the most ownership down here.
I think 10 to 12. Yeah, probably 10 to 12%.
I think it's lower than the mid-teens just because there's so many different cheap options, and people are going to say, well, if they get too much of him, they're going to say, well, I'll mix in this guy to kind of offset that a little bit. So I think it's probably a little bit lower than that, but I agree. He'll be the most popular one, whatever that number is.
Yeah, because like I don't have a strong lean between Randall Cobb as wide receiver 3, Fehoko, Davis, like Jalen Guyton's in the situation too. So it's not like if you're just looking at the DraftKings player pool and you take Chargers, you're like, oh, they only got 4 guys. Like Jalen Guyton's gonna make his debut, I guess is the NBA word, for his first start of the year. He tore his ACL last year. He's been on the team though. He knows the playbook. He's been with Herbert. So again, I'm assuming everyone is active there. But if Davis is going to be the highest owned, I think just give me Cobb. And man, does it sound gross, but he's going to play in a lot of 3 receiver sets in the slots. Don't think ownership is there too much. Yeah, I think I rank him Cobb over Davis. Davis versus Fehoko is pretty interesting too. I don't have a strong lean. Is it going to be Guyton? Is it going to be Davis? Is it going to be Fehoko? It's probably going to be all 3 mixing and matching in. So the more I talk about it, I think I just like Cobb the most all the way down in this punt range because I think he'll be on the field the most. Like Quentin Johnson a lot. We talked about him. We talked about Keenan. I love Garrett Wilson. Yeah, Allen Lazard. I just don't think I can do that at that price tag. He was banged up a little Saturday. He's coming back, or he's playing this week, or he's expected to play. But 5.2K, I just don't like that range. Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. Brees, it's just really Brees and Garrett Wilson that I love on the Jets side. So no Lazard. Davis probably underweight. Cobb, I guess, is my favorite Jets receiver outside of Garrett Wilson at the price. And man, does it sound gross. But I think Fehoko I'll keep mixing in as well because I think Davis will be more popular, $400 less, and projects well. So he'd be my favorite cheap punt receiver for the Chargers.
Yeah, some said Davis 2%. I see a lot more than that. I actually think Cobb will still get some right behind him. Michael Carter could be the sneaky one. I know we're going back to running back now, but like you said, he's almost ahead of Cook, and Cook is whining about, didn't get moved at the trade deadline, wanted more work, and they just don't have it for him, unfortunately. Like, he was brought in to do a role, play a job, and it's just you haven't seen it. So see what ends up happening there. Hoop, talk to us about these tight ends. You are the Parham whisperer, so we have to know, man. Is it Everett? Is it Parham? What's it going to be? And then title, while he's doing that, if you can look for somebody random, scroll back through, find the $100 cash winner that we couldn't give away yesterday as people continue to smash that like and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with Everett. I mean, he definitely gets a boost with Joshua Palmer out. I think 5.6K is fair for him. Totally fine. Going to be more of a flex play for me, for sure. And then, Parham, especially on those Justin Herbert captain teams, I think Parham is a perfect fit. You want touchdowns. He's in there in the high leverage situations. Seems like, anytime they're down there, they give him a look because of his big body. He's 3,200. If he finds it once, he's probably a guy you're going to need in there. So I'm good with definitely Everett, obviously Parham as well. And then, you have Tyler Conklin at 3K flat. I'm fine with that too. Like, I think there's 3 very viable tight end plays today, and they're all pretty cheap, and they all have some degree of upside. But I do like Everett more than I have in the past because of the Joshua Palmer situation. I think he definitely gets a few more looks tonight. With Palmer out, he's an established guy in their offense. It's not like a dude they're just randomly bringing in to replace Palmer. He's going to get a bump in some capacity. So I do like him at the $5,600 price tag. Conklin, again, fine with him at 3K, and then Parham, especially on those Justin Herbert captain teams, is where I want to play him.
Okay, and Jeffrey was talking about at captain. Playing Davis at captain night? No, thank you.
Oh, that'll be 2%.
Yeah, if that's 2%, that's 2% towards hopefully the rake, because I won't have those lineups, so I can at least pray for that. But we'll see. No double touchdown call today. They said Dalvin healthy scratch incoming. That would make Michael Carter's ownership break the slate, and maybe at that point for good reason, because then he would actually get usage, and then everything we talk about here would pop up. Like that Eckler ownership would definitely go up then, because you'd be able to play that way. So I could see it. Anything else to add there, Title, from you? Talk tight ends or anything else Hoop didn't say that you want to mention before we get to kickers, Ds? And then you guys can start throwing your scores in now for when we get to that segment here at the end.
Do you want the winner first before I go tight ends, or do you want
yes,
that
please.
after?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Definitely.
So I just randomly scrolled, and it was on a very nice comment. So I think it's meant to be. Best show, hands down. Join the family. So, yeah. Hey, it was random, and it was positive vibes. So there you go. It's meant to be. Hope you enjoy the $100 and win some money with it.
DFS Res the GOAT. Hit us up, info@shipitnation.com. You must screenshot your YouTube account when you send it in. info@shipitnation.com. We'll get you the $100 for everyone who asked, because I know yesterday there might be people watching. Oh, didn't pay me. We say it every week. We pay it out by Wednesday. We oftentimes get it out sooner, but we do all our giveaways for the entire week, carry them over. We build the codes for free months. We do all the different factors to get them out to you just to make it easier. And we hop on and do them all at one time. So leave it at that. Hoopster, kickers and Ds. You mentioned Dicker the kicker earlier. Definitely could be a big night for him. They stall plenty in the proper areas there where they can kick them from. The red zone, end zone, you know what I'm talking about. So plenty of opportunity for him. And then other side, you just got to think about it from, do you think they'll actually kick if they get down enough? Depends on how you're playing it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I like both kickers quite a bit for a few reasons. Dicker the kicker has been one of the better kickers in the NFL the last, 2 seasons. And 4,600, we did see the kickers get into that 5K range recently. Well, now they're back down a little bit, 4,600. I kind of like looking at game logs and seeing what's going on with kickers, because I want to know, will the teams kick? Will they go for it? Dicker's coming off a 16 fantasy point game. He had a 12-pointer early on in the year. He had a 10, but he makes almost all his kicks, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, missed 1, 1 for 1, 1 for 1, 3 for 3. Like, he makes his kicks. So I definitely want some Dicker. And then Greg Zuerlein is another guy that has put up some big boy scores. He has a 14, an 18, an 11 earlier on in the season. And they're an offense that I definitely don't trust when they get close to the end zone. So I'm good with both kickers. And then the defenses pulled up. The prices are up there. Chargers 5K, Jets 42. I'll put them in there and see what I get. Like, I'm not actively trying to fade defenses, but I'm also not actively trying to play them. So if I get some of these defenses, that's fine. But the kickers definitely stand out to me. And the one thing I have noticed on these slates, kicker ownership for some reason is coming way, way down. It's low numbers almost every single slate now. I think people are just kind of writing them off. I think tonight is the same. Last year we were seeing kickers, 30% owned and stuff. We haven't seen that at all. It's typically been more in the teens. So if they go out there and get you 12, 13, 14 fantasy points, at this lower type ownership number, can certainly pay off. So I really do like the kickers tonight.
Yeah. Title, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so just looking at the range, like, I'm going to be playing all of them, and there's no really hot takes, but it's because it's a whole gap. So Zach Wilson's 8,800.
Yeah,
the next highest price. The next high is 56 for Everett, 52 for Lazard, 5K Chargers, 46 Dicker, 44 Zuerlein, 42 Jets. And then you get the Quinton Johnson, Parham, Conklin, and it's all down from there. So there's just no one else really in this range to click. I don't like Lazard. He's my least favorite out of all these. I prefer the kickers and the defense. Talking large field GPP, the upside there. And I like Gerald Everett a lot. So I'm going to be mixing and matching these guys. I prefer the kickers. I think Chargers D's probably the most popular out of the 4. Not a strong lean there. Probably all ownership relatively, but picking on Zach Wilson is something people like to do. So I think I'd say Chargers is my least favorite. I do like these kickers a lot, though. Both offenses can stall out for sure, but yeah, it's the range that's going to lead me to at least one of these guys, probably in most, or guys / teams in most lineups.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm with you pretty much hand in hand with you breaking that stuff down. I do like Dicker as well over there at 4,600 to Hoop's point originally, just going to him, not at the captain, but just in flex. He's going to make a lot of sense. And like Hoop said, it was funny. They went up over 5K and now they came down, and this is the game I would actually expect them to be up. So I actually like the kickers quite a bit here tonight. So I'll bring that up. Let's go to the segment here. Let's talk about the Run the Sim stuff. We got runthesims.com. Go ahead.
Let's hit FanDuel real quick before we hop into this, because there are a couple pricing differences that I think stand out over there. The top guys are all pretty similar. You got Herbert at 17, Eckler at 16.5, Keenan Allen at 15K. They're the most expensive guys on DraftKings. They're the most expensive guys on FanDuel. Breece Hall a little bit cheaper at 14K, which FanDuel probably fits him a little bit better. So I think that stands out. And then Zach Wilson, you get a pretty decent price discount coming down to him at 12K. Like, that's a pretty low price tag for a starting quarterback. Garrett Wilson at 13K, don't love that price tag. But then the kickers and defenses are all kind of bunched up. You have Chargers at 9K. You have the Jets at 9,500. You have Zuerlein at 9K. You have Dicker at 8,500. So they're kind of in a tier of their own. And then you have just a bunch of cheap options Quentin Johnson's 8K strong play. Alan Lazard, me and Title definitely didn't like him at the 52 or something over on DK. Yeah. Well, he's only 8,500 over on FanDuel. I actually like that as a cheap option over there. You have Everett 7,500, Conklin at 7K. And then they do have Guyton in the player pool at 5K flat. So if we get word that Guyton's in, he's the stone minimum on FanDuel. Yeah. And not a lot of opportunities on FanDuel to play guys all the way down at 5K. So that will be interesting. If people are playing on both sides, they might forget about him. We just need to make sure that he's going to be in, and he would be a fine play. Fajoko's 5,500. So I don't know. I see it pretty similarly. Like I said, a couple plays that stand out as cheaper than on DK would be Zach Wilson at 12K, Alan Lazard at 8,500, and then the potential for Guyton at 5K flat on FanDuel.
Anything to add there, Title, at all? Anything? I mean, the Guyton one was huge because, like you said, people we'll find it eventually, and assuming he's in all this, but just to say it is different, right? You don't even have him on DraftKings, you have him on FanDuel. So anything else to add for FanDuel from your side?
No, I think it was a pretty good breakdown by Hoop. I think chargers and kickers are going to be played over here as well. I don't expect many people to go all the way down to like that 5-6K range. Davis is down there as well. So yeah, larger field tournaments. I mean, especially FanDuel, if you use all your salary on FanDuel, it's really, really hard to avoid a huge chop. But if you can leave 1,000, 1,500, and maybe Davis or Guyton do fall in the box or outscore Lazard, something like that. So I think it's an interesting slate on FanDuel. I don't think you can go multiple ways at captain too. I mentioned earlier on DK, I wouldn't be shocked if like Winston Johnson was the leading scorer. Tougher on FanDuel, of course, because full point compared to half point PPR, bonuses, etc. But yeah, I think there's multiple captains you can play as well, or MVPs, I should say.
Yeah, had the point brought up again about the kicker optimals and the captain only the one time, and it didn't even get used. So just hasn't been a thing this season. Note here, if you guys want to subscribe, this is where a lot of the giveaway stuff that I'm doing, I can promise you that right now it's at $500. 10% of my King of the Beach ticket will be up to $30,000 if I win first, but you'll definitely have to be subscribed to Ship It Nation YouTube station. We're on the drive for 5 now, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And when we do, we're also going to be giving away a 1-year membership. We just gave away a 6-month. We may give away another 6-month membership coming up on the Thursday show this week. We'll see. Just talking to some guys in Discord as we speak. And then shout out to Mama Rocks. Love to see you here. We do not. We've been very transparent and clear about everything. We did have the trial membership. We let it run for like, I don't know, Hoop. We said it would go for a couple weeks, and we let it run for a month and a half or something just to try it out. But it was almost $20 for 5 days. It was just a check the site, and that's it. We're only $62 a month, which is basically $2 a day. And you get every sport, you get the Discord, you get all the offerings that we have. Use the promo code MAYO, get 10% off. That's the best way to do it. And you can get in on any membership, but you can get it as low as $49 a month on the annual. Obviously, someone looking for a trial isn't signing up for that. But even if we brought in monthly, it's still going to be a much better deal to get in for the first month, try it out, put it to work, and go from there. Anything to add, Hoop? If not, let's find a score that I can pop up here.
You want the monthly anyway because you get in that Discord, and that's where all the fun happens. That's where a lot of the winners are produced. Like, even if we ever bring anything back on a shorter duration of time, it's not going to include Discord. So you get in the monthly, get your win, you pay it off, good to go. Yeah, and if you don't, I mean, if you want to do it the other way, we had a lot of people. We had somebody just last week on a showdown show, actually. Might even have the screenshot right here. Where was it? Yeah, I think it was this one. Yeah, Rome, Jay John. I think he signed up since, but he was not a member when he hit this. And again, this isn't for everybody. You can't just walk in one day and get, turn your $30 into 89K. It's not always going to work this way. It was just to show it can happen. And you can do that too. If you can't be a member and you can't afford it or don't want to or whatever, we appreciate you still tuning in and supporting the show. Do us a favor, do the free stuff, smash the like, subscribe to the channels. That's still helpful for us if that's all you can do. But Rome hopped in here, said he just watched the show, and then went on to win 89K on the 2 entries that he threw in. It can happen to anybody at any time. We do appreciate the support. We are going to be giving away a 1-month membership at the end of this show. So, Hoop, what's the score you got for me? I'll break down Run the Sims, and we'll get out of here in the next 10 minutes or so. Yeah, actually, this one just came through, and this is one I think one of you guys referenced earlier in the show, like a 20-16 type Chargers win. And just to see, which Chargers expensive guys we would be potentially looking at in a lower scoring type game where they're going to have to obviously do something at their price tags to pay it off. So I like this score.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just going to tell people quickly, but if you guys haven't been to Run the Sims, you can go to runthesims.com, sponsor the show, use the promo code SHIPIT. It gets you 10% off anything just to see it here. They have all kinds of other stuff. We talk about Sim Runner every week, which is what we're using here, but they have Prop Sniper as a new package. Mayo's been posting a ton about that. They're just absolutely crushing. If you want to bet some props, they've got their other stuff here for the advanced hubs. They've got Underdog, Prize Picks, Prop Tools, all of those things so that you guys can see it. And Sprite asked this again. I'll pull it up because it's right below it. You asked this morning on the review show about MMA. You ask about every sport. I don't know if you're trolling. I don't really care at this point. I got a little bit of a headache, so I'll just say it. Like, if it's not about that, like, get into the community, see what it's all about. Check our Twitter. Go back and scroll. You can see it there. We're about helping other people get better at DFS. It's not just shippers ship and winners win and all this other stuff you hear around the industry. We're helping people get better at the game of DFS. Oh, you just want to make money. We're $62 a month. If you suck in Discord and we don't like you, we'll kick you out. We don't care. We literally love the community. We want it to get better. We have tons and tons of people in there, and the people will speak for it in the chat, and they'll tell you. It's a great time. If you want to be a part of it, check it out. Let's run the score, 20-16. Run the Sims. For those of you that haven't seen this, you go to the slate. You go to the inputs. We put 20-16, 10,000 simulations. When you run the Sims, it goes very quickly, and then you get to your optimal results. I'll break it down quickly, Hoop, and then I'll let you have a look at this one.
You jinxed it.
I jinxed it. Yeah. It might have been because I clicked slates. You don't really want to click out, but so let me start it over real quick. I apologize. Let's click it here.
Back up.
20-16. Nothing else to get to see how it works, and maybe it goes.
Actually, I actually do think this is a pretty interesting spot for the Jets. Like, I would not be like Title said. It seems like the Chargers should be favored by 5-6 points here. They're only favored by 3.5. Like, I do think it is. The Jets have a direct route to win this game. So maybe the next one we do is a Jets win just to see.
Now I'm extra tilted. It doesn't work. So we'll bring up more comments. Yes, especially. Yeah. I don't know why I developed a little headache on this show, but just in general, definitely going to tell it like it is. And like, this is what I mean. The troll, where's the button at today? I don't see it.
You got to kill him with kindness. It's on Twitter, right? I mean,
man, Sprite Soda's getting banned for life next time. I'm in the Mayo mood today. I got my Mayo media mood on, and you know it's on Twitter. Come on. This is just dumb questions. Like Mayo says, no time for these stupid questions. Let's go. We got it here, Hoopster. So this is the game. If anybody doesn't know, they project. Actually, there's a good exercise, Hoop. They think only 16% for Eckler in the captain. So they're on Team Hoop when it comes to Eckler's captain ownership. They only have him at 16. They actually have Keenan Allen higher than him, which I don't believe, but we'll see what it actually shakes out like. But for those watching for the first time, your flex ownership, your captain ownership, and then that's their projections. Now, when you go to flex rate and captain rate, this is within the 10,000 simulations. Where did Eckler show up? He showed up slightly more than his ownership. Therefore, there's a positive leverage in the flex. He showed up a lot more than 16% in the captain. Therefore, there's a positive captain and then an overall leverage like that. And again, they've got Zach Wilson only 3% in the captain. In this score, he's showing up almost 13% of the time. So huge leverage on Zach Wilson in the captain. Go ahead, Hoop. Take over here.
Yeah, I guess, the Zach Wilson thing is some pretty interesting. So it's showing a total rate of 63.5%. It's just got to be like a price point thing. I mean, he's cheaper than most quarterbacks at 8,800. If they're, 20-16 in this score. Zach Wilson definitely stands out. And, you look at the top 5 guys here. Yeah, I mean, some of them show up like negatively, but it still wants all these guys at right around at least 50%. Keenan Allen showing up 40% of teams overall. Garrett Wilson 47, 52, 50. It's just 2 consolidated offenses. So I think most builds today, most scores that we put in are going to show that you're going to need these guys tonight. And it kind of just goes to, what I was talking about earlier on, like these Chargers games, man, they've been easy to predict. Like I went through their schedule as we were talking here on the show, and it's always been one of these guys just kind of going off. So I think I'm going to end up buying into that, what I talked about earlier. And then if you scroll down a little bit, like what else do we see popping up here? Anything like surprising? Because it seems pretty straightforward as of now. Randall Cobb. There you go. Randall Cobb wants 18% of Randall Cobb. Where's he at? There he is. Yeah, 18%. Yeah. So big leverage for him. Jets defense, that makes sense in a lower scoring game.
No Spiller. So. Where's Davis? Davis is under. They got Davis. Oh, here you go. Team title on this one. They got him way up.
That's even higher than I thought, but yeah.
Yeah. I think these are slightly off, but that's okay.
We've seen the cheap plays all season long. Like all season long, they come in like much lower than we anticipate.
I might have to get on the Cobb train now. That's the thing, right? One of those things. I'd rather play Cobb than Fehoko. Only 1-0 in Cobb's name. That can only turn into 1-0, not 2. If you got 0-0, like Hoop, if Hoop was a fantasy player, can't really roster that much of them because you get those 0-0s, the Coopers and the Hoopers and all that stuff that pops up.
Well, if you want to play Cobb, if you're going to play Cobb tonight, make sure you don't look at the game log, all right? Just do yourself a favor and don't click on that game log.
No, it sucks. I think it's less than 2 on every game. But I like what Title said. If he's on the field, they got to go. Like the only thing they need, if they can just stop, they're going to let Zach Wilson throw. By all means, let's eat this guy's lunch and take him apart. They're going to know to protect as much as they can against Garrett Wilson, who always has to make acrobatic catches anyway. So maybe he does pick up a few points out of the slot. And I kind of like him if I was going like a Zach Wilson captain and then just load up on dudes that are down low. He just could make it work. And maybe I can still get like Eckler and guys on the other side.
Yeah, in terms of FanDuel, we just if you rewind back like 10 minutes, we talked about it. So just 10 minutes before this, we were chatting some FanDuel.
That's right when it hit. Hoop, you were doing a great breakdown. I was just ignoring it. So thank you. I appreciate the reminder. And Caddy, you can always email us. We get back within the hour, info@shipitnation.com. Our support team will get you all set up and get you back in that Discord, or at least give you the info so you'll be able to do it when you have the free time. And hit us up if you need anything at all like that. Title, did you have a score? And Title, will you grab a score? Hoop, you can pull a 1-month winner. We need a 1-month winner for the free membership. Mama Rocks, by the way, shout out to Mama Rocks. She already said she's gone to sign up. So we'll get you into one of the free rolls. I think we're going to run another contest tonight on there. So if you did join, we'll get you in. But Hoop, if you can find a free month winner, Title, hook me up with the score and I'll load it in.
Let's go. Yeah, I like this because I said Chargers, ever since growing up, man, Chargers missing game-winning field goals, another day ending in Y. It's slowed down as of late, but I feel like today on a prime time, Jets squeak one out, Chargers miss a big field goal. So let's see what that does.
Let's see it.
So Zach Wilson, like he's the one at captain that I've been going back and forth. If I like the Jets today, if I like Breece and Garrett a lot, I know you ship with that Tambo. I mean, he has some rushing upside. It's not like he's a statue back there. You got the Cobb pairing. Conklin's cheap. What are your thoughts on that, Tambo? We know your internet's good.
I'm just saying.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. The internet speed.
I had to do the internet flex. It's not my internet, man.
The flex, yeah.
Just saying. I love this too, by the way. We know the score already, 23-21. We'll get it back if we want. But I like what Hoop said here. Do that for the ending because we're going to give away a monthly membership. Get somebody else in that Discord tonight to get in on the draws, get in on the free roll, everything like that. So it's going to be solid.
Yeah, I've already gone back on the messages like 2 other occasions trying to find something. So I figured we'll just, something from moving forward.
Answer your question, Title, I'm in. Again, not just because I shipped earlier in the season with, I actually think, like I said, I do think there's something to be said. I know Hoop was just talking. What's that? Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
I just checked it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, but even before this, even before I won that slate with the Zach Wilson lineup against Kansas City, I would say that when Hoop mentioned, like looking back at the game logs, it's always a Chargers guy that crushes. Obviously, they'll still be in the lineup. But one thing I noted, like the Chargers also show up against bad teams. We were hating on Herbert the last time we did a Herbert show before the Chicago game, which everybody crushes Chicago. We were like, oh, Herbert looks bad in these other spots. And then he plays Chicago. He looks good again. I think the Jets D is for real still. They're at home. Like there is definitely something here where the Jets could show up and get the job done. It's still probably going to be closer than we think, but I think that could be a possibility. So obviously with this setup, Wilson just vaults right to the top. And again, this is how you guys got to look at this. Even if you think he's 5-6%, I mean, he's still showing up in the captain 17.5 of the time. So he's definitely someone I think you should consider. Interestingly enough, they still love Eckler at 20% up here. Not that crazy because it's Eckler, but just saying like he's still going to be a guy to get into your captain lineups there. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, they're kind of like middling. Anything else here, title that you see with it?
No, the Zach Wilson love is like I liked him too, but I might even have me boost a little more. Not surprised with Eckler, but I guess I am surprised how much it hates Chargers receiver. Even on that last build, the Chargers win, Keenan was way negative, Eckler was way positive, the Johnson of the world negative here. So that part was a little interesting. I do like that it's showing the more we talk about it too, I like Cobb at the ownership more than Davis or Fehoko and stuff, just because I do not know Guyton in the equation. Who knows who's going to be wide receiver 3/4 if they run 2 tight end sets, what it may be. So yeah, not much surprise though, besides the Wilson.
Yeah, I like that. So I got nothing else here. I did see down at the bottom though, man, Cobb just still pops off the page. So I think you might be onto something there. I want to see closer to it. We'll obviously have it updated on the site. We'll see where that ownership goes, but I do think it's at least interesting, the Davis versus Cobb situation, because I know I was messing around with some builds right before the show where I was like kind of debating between the two, and they both could make sense in the build, but one now leans me to the side of the Cobb build and just take my chances, honestly. Like I think you could still, and just so people know it, I'm not saying like he's going to take and eat Garrett Wilson's lunch here. I'm saying like, you play Garrett Wilson too, but it's like Garrett Wilson ends up in the flex. He doesn't go off, and Cobb actually picks up meaningful points at 200 versus the other guys around him. Cobb is there too. We already talked about this earlier, Richie. So I said that right after. I said we were on wide receiver, but going back to running back for a second, I think Carter is just as interesting because he's $200. And like Title said, you could see him get in there. They've got him at 14%. He's not popping as much as these other guys, but even still, he's getting a little more ownership too than what they see Cobb getting. So it looks like it could be situational where Cobb comes down to the lower owned one there. Hoop, anything? Do you got the winner story first of all?
Also, a couple comments. Chris Simmons put in there. I love the month of shipping. I've been following Hoop since previous spot, ride or die. But then he said he's going to join either way. So you can just join and get in. It's more of a long term. This is just 1 month. So we got 2 options, right? You got Mike, who goes, I want a free month to take the first step to improve my play and help the one guy get his grandma's wheelchair back. That was funny.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That is what we're all about, right? That's the point. That's the setup where you are getting him in and helping others. It's what we talk about. People helping people. That's definitely a good one. I like that.
All right,
Mike.
so that we're gonna go with that one. The next one would have been the guy that
don't even do it. Don't even say the name or pull it up because they're gonna be sad. So just go with that one.
All right, we'll just go with this. And if you're somebody that's in the, let's see the best way to put this, if you're in need of a new roof, just stay tuned to the shows. We might be able to help you out here along the way. But this is the winner, Mike.
Title, he's the absolute worst.
I know.
Kids are like, hey, what do we get for Christmas? Well, I can't tell you, but that thing outside with 2 wheels on it and the handlebars might just be yours.
Don't look underneath.
But it could be, right? It could be a bike. So we'll see. That's Hoopster for you guys. I love that. Just a note, Chris, the prices out there are going up. You're right. Not us, but I'm saying I'm seeing prices across the industry continue to rise. That's something we've stayed on top of. We actually only price bumped from the 59 to 69, and we waited 3 extra months to do it until we felt comfortable with NBA, NFL, and NHL all coming back and adding MMA into the mix. And then we only went to $69 a month. I will note that getting the optimizer with us costs an additional. It does show the solver is our partner. We don't have our own optimizer, but that's why we keep our price. Right now, it's $62 a month with promo code Mayo. You can add any optimizer. Like if you add the solver for $35 for one sport, you're still just over $100 for everything. And our stuff gets loaded in there. If you want all sports, you can get it for like $59. You're still coming in well below the 170s out there and things like that you're talking about. So love to see that. Prices are up. You're right.
Yeah, prices are up on everything. Inflation's crazy, but I swear these DFS sites are taking that inflation number and inflating it because, man, the price tags are big, and we've made a commitment to never get in those ranges. We're going to keep it cheap for everyone.
Yeah, definitely agree. Lots of good people. Shout out to my guy, Adam. Always see this guy supporting the shows. Love to see the people coming back for that. Stuff is worth the price. We want you to build your own stuff and try and get in it, but this one here, I don't need a free ride, but I did win 3,800s last 2 weeks tailing hoops. So definitely.
And you're still not in. Your ass better go sign up right now. I mean, if you got the wins back-to-back weeks and you're saying you still haven't joined, I mean, there's no excuse now. Like, I better go into our email and I better see your name popping up. I mean, there's literally no excuse now not to get in.
You're feeding all the free winners, Hoop. He's printing with the free winners.
Oh, wait, we'll switch to the premium model. See how that's
You
working
can go
out
on the
there,
main
man.
page, check out all the testimonials of people out there winning, having a good time, getting better at the game. Not just the wins, it's also what they're doing, what they're feeling like in the Discord. Like Hoop said, the camaraderie is just huge. But if you go here and go join the nation, it's 69, 59, or 49. Very clear. You can get in for as little as $50 a month. And then on top of that, you can also go and use the promo code Mayo and take it down even further. So if you go into the annual and use Mayo, you can drop it down to $539. Your price is now like $42 a month. And then just to show it back, it's everything inclusive. So it's all 6 of the major sports. MLB just ended, but it's projections, ownership, tools, rankings, the core reports, player pools, slate plans. There's courses on here for both NFL and NBA so far, as if we won't bring more out. You know we will. The Discord community comes with all of these memberships and then more. There's community channels for tennis and for college football and for soccer, and NASCAR's coming and all these other things when it comes back. If you want the solver, it is additional, but when you go click this, you'll see everything comes preloaded with our projections and ownership, and then you can get in for $34.99 for one sport, or you can change it to monthly for $69.99 to add it on. But if you're in with us for $62 a month, you're still coming in less than $129 a month. Well, these other sites are $170 plus. 6 months, you can get it for as little as $49. So there's a ton of good value out there, guys. We get it, but we're just telling you, if you don't want to get in, it's okay. Watch these free shows until you win, and then go out and use that money that you won to get in. That's kind of the way we look at it. There's lots of people that do that. Watch the shows for free. We have no paid shows. You can watch all of our shows for free. We don't believe there is enough secret sauce in those free shows. It's just a holdout to say, get in, you'll get this show for free. Sure, it's fun. Some people do it. We don't. It's one of our things that we love to do. Title, final thoughts on this slate before we get out of here.
No, I think it's very interesting with like the Davis, the Cobbs, the Carters, the Fajokos. There's a lot of cheap options. But you mentioned it earlier. You don't have to go to any of those guys. There's enough in the mid tier, whether it is 2 of kickers and defenses, the Everetts, the Parhams. I think cheap captain is a little interesting, which would then get me away from those $200 punts as well, mainly Quinton Johnson, the Everetts of the world. But the more we talked about it, when I looked at the spread and stuff, feels like a trap line. I like the Jets, and I really like Brees and Garrett Wilson, just the 2 guys that soak up all the targets. So, yeah, it should be a fun one, and I didn't think I'd be saying that, seeing Jets Chargers at first glance, but I'm actually excited for it.
Yeah, I didn't get too low on this game actually the whole time, or even yesterday when I was talking about it. I know that we had those sandwich games around the ugly main slate with the 2 really good games in Germany and then the late game. But even this game, I was actually kind of a little bit excited about for this one. You guys should too if you're a fan of the Mayo Media Network. Again, that show tonight with Cust, Feinberg, Mayo. Someone said it best. He'll just be instigating them the whole time. I'm actually really excited for it, so I can't wait to check that out. You guys should check that out as well. And then Hoopster, your final thoughts, anything else you want to add before I take us home?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I looked at this game and didn't automatically think this is going to be just a boring game that you're going to want to turn it off at halftime. I think there's some potential here in this game. I mean, both sides have pieces. Zach Wilson's looked a little bit better recently. And then on last Thursday, I did a giveaway in the Discord. And if I have time tonight, if I get all my teams built in time, I'm going to get in there. And I think I sent 10 members $30 to play in the big contest. So I'm going to try to get in there tonight and do the same thing. So if you are a member, make sure you're getting the Discord for that giveaway. Give you a chance to win some extra money here tonight.
Yeah, Andrew won the $100 the other night in the free roll that we ran, so we'll be giving that away to the winner we announced earlier. Romeo won over the weekend, had a big week, and he got the monthly membership out there. We may be giving away a 6-month bundle on the Thursday show, so tune in to that. Come back and check us out. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Great week ahead. We've got one last day to finish out week 9. Let's close it strong for Title, for Hoop, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!